You know, not very many people care to even look around and see things the way that they really are. A lot of people just want to make excuses and justify the actions of this totalitarian police state. People want to downplay the problem and act like the problem doesn't exist. This problem has existed for many years. Police brutality, police corruption is nothing new. While we focus on the issue of police brutality and police corruption across the nation, it's just another one of those issues that we fail to address in our society as a whole. Some of us just walk around with our heads down and act like the problem doesn't exist and it's right there in our face. Some of us go a very long ways to justify these actions. Some of us refuse to believe that any of this could ever be true. That is where we forget history. We don't study history to forget the past. We study history so that we understand the future and how we can make better decisions and better judgments in the future. But history was left out of your child's educational curriculum. If the United States Education Department were to teach history to our children, they would be appalled at the terrible atrocities that have been committed throughout history. If the United States Education Department taught history, our children would be intellectuals. The state does not want intellectuals because by educating our children with vital information, that would create such an awareness to the point that our children would understand why our nation is a failed society today. Our children would understand that this failure is by design. The IRS, the Federal Reserve Banking Institution, Social Security Administration, state legislatures, politicians, mayors, senators, the Board of Police Commissioner's Office, paternal affairs, child support, court, judges, prosecutors, FBI, ATF, CIA, and many other government agencies are responsible for the failures in our communities across the United States. These policies created by government organizations are counterproductive and serve no purpose to this nation. These policies, rules, codes, regulations, city ordinances are enacted as law. They are put in place under design and disguise for one purpose, the creation of capital gain, to create profit for government agencies to keep their organizations functioning so that the top people in charge can create a budget that allows these elite officials in charge to line their pockets and to live lavishly at the expense of the people, to take and extort from the people with threats, of violence and threats of incarceration if the people refuse to comply. These elites and government officials who are in charge of these government agencies are often lobbied and bribed with campaign donations and lavish favors in exchange for protection of liability for their corporations. So their corporations can get away with mass schemes that only would be called a conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theories. When our fundamental rights are demolished and taken away right before our eyes, eroded one after another, our human rights just gone, non-existent. While the Declaration of Independence is just another contract, it contains the fundamental principles of human rights. Among them are due process, freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and to be free from government intrusion. Due to the lack of education, the American people do not understand or understand these fundamental human rights or principles. Things the people fail to understand is they cannot allow the confiscation of their human rights by the government or the government's independent agencies. We cannot allow them to continue to take advantage of us. We, as a collective of human beings, need to speak up for what is right. Have we forgotten the dictatorships of the past? Mao Ming, Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler, Benito Mussolini, just to name a few. I guess so, because our kids don't have a clue of who these people are, and most grown-ups are just as clueless. Can you see the similarities today as in 1933? Can you see how the power of the state has grown beyond control? Can you see that we are a modern slave to today's society? Can you see that we have a failed economic system? Can you see the dollar on the verge of collapse? Can you see the disgusting acts committed by people in positions of power? Pedoph- Pedophile behavior, human trafficking, disgusting shit. I'm not going to ask you what we could do about it, but I am going to ask you to be brave, educate yourselves to another level so that we all can fully comprehend this huge scheme that's taking place right before our eyes.